one of my favorite techniques to catch fish all over the country, and it's really one of my money techniques, and that's Texas rigging a soft plastic. It's awesome. Anywhere, everywhere you can rig it weedless, you can get it through all the nasty cover. Texas rigs, #1 out there for catching bass. So let's rig one real quick because there's a major debate, and it starts right here. I take my little tungsten weight, I slide it on my fluorocarbon line, and here's the debate. Peg it or not peg it? That's the big question. And I'll tell you from my experience, pegging it, you will not catch as high a percentage as you will if you don't peg it, okay? And the only time I'll peg it is if I absolutely have to get the bait through cover, or if I'm fishing like spawning beds, I want it to fall exactly there. Sometimes I'll peg it then, but I really try never to peg it because you will catch more. By the weight sliding away from the bait, you get more bites. By the weight sliding away from the bait, you get the fish with just the bait in his mouth, you will catch more fish. So if you were gonna peg it though, peg it before, use a toothpick, cut it off, peg it before you tie it on, because then you slide your line up, and if you happen to nick your line where you stuck the peg in, you're gonna cut that off tying your knot. The other aspect is the rubber pegs, very good. They slide through, you know, you pull them up and you cut them off. And then the third one is simply a bobber stopper. You can just slide the bobber stopper down. It's just a little rubber knot that kind of sits in there and keeps your weight from sliding. All those are methods to peg that are very good, but I'm gonna tell you, don't peg, you'll get more bites and catch more fish. So let's rig one up real quick. So my favorite hook is the TK130. It's a giant flipping hook. It's a straight shank. The reason I like it is look at this. Look at the penetration angle. When you set the hook, that point's going into the fish's mouth. Really deadly. Great point. Here's the knot. Fluorocarbon, slide it through, put your line over your index finger so you have doubled line. I'm gonna draw a loop over my index finger so you can see this hook's laying right there, and I'm gonna wrap 3 times around that loop. So you can see it's just a loop around my finger there, and I'm gonna wrap 3 times, and I'm gonna hold the hook steady. 1, 2, 3. You can go 4. Then you come through where you had your finger. That is called a doubled line. You're gonna end up with 3 tag ends, your loop and your single, and I just take my cutters and cut them off. Now I'm ready. Now I've got my Texas rig. Look at here, the weight slides. Now the question, well, is this gonna beat up on your knot? No. And the reason being, if you're gonna fish your knot all day long, you're gonna break off whether you Texas rig it or not. One thing you wanna remember is no matter what you do, after every good fish, 2, 3 pounder, you need to retie. Every time, just retie. Take simple, take a couple seconds, 1, 2, 3, tighten it up, go back to fishing. Now you've got 100% knot strength. You've taken care of any type of rough spots where it's been banging into the rocks or whatever. I never have an issue with the tungsten eating up my line or beating up on the knot because it just won't do it. So retie after every good fish, you won't have an issue. And if it's a slow day, you catch 2 or 3 little guys, you still retie. So now here's my hook. I take my bait, and probably one of my favorite baits is a little rage bug. It's an incredible little flipping, pitching, casting. In fact, this is what happened to me on the Delaware River. I'm using a rage bug, exact technique right here, the 5/16, the big trocar hook. And the first day, I lost fish after fish after fish, had plenty of bites, came in with a meager little stringer, and was way down in 60th, 70th place, whatever. The next day I caught like the 2nd largest stringer, moved up in the top, and ended up finishing 5th. Fished all the days, but the only difference was day 1, my weight was pegged. I was in Florida, I was thinking about fishing back in grass and heavy, and I never unpegged it. It just happened to be that way. Well, I unpegged it, caught every fish the next day, and the next day. I only lost maybe 1 or 2 fish the whole tournament after I unpegged it. Why? This chases this, more strikes. This is in his mouth, no weight. You don't have to pull this weight out of his mouth when you set the hook. When you set the hook, this weight has to come out of his mouth to drive this hook in. So one thing chasing another gets them excited. Bait by itself, high percentage. Try it. If at all possible, don't peg your weight, you're gonna catch more fish.